how do we go about editing permissions for different user roles? Before I get into this, I'd like to point out a problem that we have right now. Here's a little problem, and we're going to solve this problem by editing some permissions. And here's the problem. In here, we've noticed that we have a search box, right? And if I search for some content, like let's say I search for Jane, I should, if I'm not mistaken, I should see some content show up here. So as soon as it does the search, yes, it says, oh, okay, welcome Jane Smith, our new guitarist. Okay, so search works here. That's fantastic. Um, let's move over to Safari where I'm not currently logged in. I'm currently working with this site as an anonymous user. And I see in this case that I don't actually have a search box. There's no search box up here. I have this user login box, but I don't actually have the ability to search right now. And so why is that? Okay, we're going to learn in a few screencasts. We'll learn all about what these boxes are and the location of these boxes, and these are actually blocks, and we're going to learn about these very soon. But I can tell you right now that the reason that we're not seeing the search box here has nothing to do with the visibility of this box. It has everything to do with permissions and how the permissions are currently configured just on a default Drupal installation. Let's go to the Peoples tab over here and let's have a look at what's going on. So I've logged in here, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a look at permissions. We've seen this before in a couple of screencasts ago. And here, let's take a closer look at what's going on here. This, just as a reminder, permissions let you control what all your different users, and specifically the user roles, can do and see, and what actions they can perform on your site. And you can decide who gets to be able to do what. And a few screencasts ago, we talked about the 3 default roles that we had set up, which was anonymous user, authenticated user, and administrator. We are the administrator on our sites, and an anonymous user is the way anonymous users would see this. Anyone who just surfs to your website and has not logged into your site. So what I'd like to do here is on this side, this is actually fairly straightforward to understand. We see all the, as you get to know what these functions are, this will start to make a little bit more sense. Some of them are fairly evident, okay? It says that, and we can just figure this out under the comments section here, we see that according to this sort of table, anonymous users can view comments, but they cannot post comments. And that's interesting. So, okay, we could change that. If we wanted to allow anonymous users to post comments, we could just click that and change that, but let's not bother doing that for now. There's some things, if you're not familiar with some of this terminology yet, that's okay. We'll get there eventually. Things like, contextual links and filter, and the nodes. This should start to make a little bit of sense in terms of, obviously, anonymous users may view published content, and that certainly makes sense. If we did not allow anonymous users to view the published content, we wouldn't have much of a website at all. Although as I did mention a few screencasts ago, maybe that is the type of site you want to run. Maybe this is a private site, or maybe this is a membership-only site, and you want everybody to be an authenticated user before they can read your content. That would be a possibility too. You get to make that choice. And then there's all these permissions regarding who gets to create new content. And obviously, under normal circumstances, you would not allow anonymous users to create new articles, publish new articles on your site, although you could set it up that way if you wanted to. Let's scroll down a little bit here. This is interesting right here. Here we see a section called search, and there are 3 options here. There's administer search, use search, and use advanced search. Administering search has to do with how you're going to set up search to work. You can define what fields search is going to look through, or what parts of your content search is going to look through. We're not worried about that. Right now, we would just like our anonymous users to be able to use search. For the time being, let's just ignore use advanced search for right now, though we could also enable that as well too. We would like any anonymous users on our site, to be able to use search, to be able to search the site. And I think it would make sense to allow authenticated users as well too. Notice something interesting that happened here. As soon as I click this administrator box went gray. Why do you think that is? Okay, why do you think that is? Well, I'll tell you the reason for that is because Drupal by default assumes that if you allow an authenticated user to do something, you have to allow the administrator to do the same thing. You're not going to give an authenticated user more permissions or more power than the administrator, because then the administrator isn't really the administrator, right? It's kind of like giving, an employee more power than his or her boss. And so, if we did this, if we did that, you see, even by unchecking that, um, Drupal automatically checks that off, says, no, no, no. The administrator has to have that permission as well too. See? And we'll see when we hover over there, little tooltip says that this permission is inherited from the authenticated user roles. So you're going to see a lot of that too. You're going to see how permissions are inherited from the level below it. And so that's why you need to actually pay attention to the order in which you place your user roles to make sure that they're in a logical order. But we'll hit that in a future screencast. For now, all we really want to do is we want to be able to allow users to search. And so I have enabled all these permissions for the search permissions for all of these roles. Let's scroll down to the bottom and let's just click the Save Permissions button down here. And let's just wait for Drupal to give us the confirmation that they've made this change. Okay, the changes have been saved. That's good. Let's test this out to see if it's working. I'd like to go to Safari, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reload this page. We're just waiting to see whether we're going to get a search box, and suddenly we get a search box here. So see how permissions, just by changing this one permission, we have now given permission to any anonymous person to come by and search the site. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to search for the word Jane. And this is just going to do a simple search, and there's our search results right here. That's the difference, by the way, between a basic search and an advanced search. If I were to close this, you'll see that my advanced search results gave a lot more options. I find for the most part that oops, there we go, more advanced search stuff. I find for the most part when we go to Safari here, I find for the most part for regular users, just a simple search is less confusing for people. Although if you want to give them more, that's fine. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent there. That is how you edit permissions for user roles, and if you want to go edit other permissions, all you need to go back is just all you need to do is go click on that People tab, click on Permissions, and you'll see a wide range of permissions here. And note that these are just the permissions that are available on a default Drupal installation. Once you start adding modules, or rather extensions, plugins for your site, you're going to see a lot of them are going to add extra functionality in here, and you're going to have to make more decisions about who can do what using the various modules on your site. It can seem a little complicated or a little overwhelming. The important thing is just to do it step by step and keep track. Fortunately, this is a fairly easy and intuitive interface to understand, so that's very good. And remember, any permissions that are granted to the authenticated user role will be given to any user who can log into your site. So anyone who is after, in this case, the administrator, and any other user role that you decide to invent later on. And that's what we're going to be doing in the next screencast. We'll be talking about creating new user roles. But for the time being, that's it. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.